Have you ever wondered what really holds the global economy together when a huge geopolitical crisis hits? When it feels like everything's about to fall apart? What's the invisible network that keeps the money flowing even when the ships, literally, have stopped sailing?
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're going to walk through a fictional, but let's be honest, an entirely plausible crisis. It's 2026. On February 28th, a military operation kicks off. And the retaliation? It's almost immediate. Just 2 days later, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps makes a shocking announcement. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. And pretty much overnight, global shipping in the region just freezes.
Now, to really get why this is such a massive deal, you have to look at this chart. The Strait of Hormuz isn't just some waterway. It's the world's second busiest oil choke point. We're talking nearly 21 million barrels of oil passing through there every single day. That's about a fifth of the entire world's supply. So closing it, it's like clamping a main artery of the global economy. And the market's reaction is, well, it's swift and brutal. The very same day, the price of Brent crude oil jumps 13%. And right away, you hear the whispers, then the shouts about stagflation, that really nasty mix of rising prices and a stalling economy. It sends a chill through the entire financial world.
But while all the headlines are focused on the ships and the oil prices, there's a totally different crisis brewing. It's happening inside the nerve centers of big, multinational companies. For them, this isn't some distant problem they're watching on the news. No, it's a five-alarm fire happening right now.
So let's step inside one of these companies, specifically into the corporate treasury department. Now, most of the time, this is a pretty quiet part of the business. But during a shock like this, it becomes the company's command center, its war room.
And all of a sudden, the corporate treasurer is getting slammed with these huge existential questions. This isn't about next quarter's forecast anymore. This is about survival. Where's our cash? Can we actually get to it? Can we pay our suppliers? And maybe most importantly, can we pay our own people on Friday? The entire business hangs on the answers to these questions.
So how do they even begin to answer all this? Well, to fight this kind of financial fire, treasurers and banks rely on this hidden infrastructure. It's kind of like a universal language that lets them all talk to each other, instantly and with perfect clarity, even when the world outside is pure chaos.
And that language has a name, ISO 2022. The easiest way to think about it is as the universal translator for money. It's a global standard, a common language. That means a payment request made in Chicago is perfectly understood by a bank in Singapore, with absolutely zero chance of it getting lost in translation. And here's why that's such a game changer. The old ways of sending financial messages, they were clunky. They carried very little information, which meant people had to get involved to fix things, and that's where mistakes happen. But ISO 2002 is totally different. It carries rich, structured data. And that data is the secret sauce for automation, for speed, and for something that's absolutely critical in a crisis, transparency.
Let me show you how it actually works. It's basically a simple two-step conversation. The company sends a message called a pain.001, which is basically saying, "Hey bank, please send this money." The bank system automatically checks it. Then, almost instantly, it sends back a pain.002. It's this perfect little digital handshake that says either accepted, we're on it, or rejected, and here's exactly why. In a crisis, knowing that instantly, that's everything.
All right, so that's the language, but how do you actually use it to navigate the storm? Well, this messaging protocol plugs right into the technology that gives treasurers that real-time view they so desperately need.
Welcome to the Treasurer's Command Center, a treasury management system, or a TMS. Think of this as the financial cockpit for the entire company. It pulls in data from all over the world, from all their different banks, and puts it on one screen, giving them a live single view of all their cash and all their risk.
And this right here shows you one of its most vital jobs. With a click, the treasurer can see exactly where all their money is. But more importantly, they can see which parts of that cash are now in a crisis zone, what we call trapped cash. Knowing that in an instant is absolutely crucial.
And it's not just about their own money either. A good TMS also lets them see the risk of their banking partners. Is the bank holding your money in a certain region stable? In a shaky market, understanding your exposure to a lower-rated bank can mean the difference between weathering the storm and having a crisis of your own.
So, having these amazing tools to deal with the immediate chaos is one thing. But what a crisis like this also does is throw a giant spotlight on a much larger, more permanent risk that has totally changed the game for global finance. And it comes down to this number, 10 years. The U.S. Treasury's sanctions enforcement arm, OFAC, recently doubled the statute of limitations for violations from 5 years to 10. Just think about that. A single compliance mistake on one payment today can come back and bite you with massive fines a full decade later.
And trust me, these are not theoretical risks. The penalties are staggering. BNP Paribas got hit with an almost $9 billion fine. Société Générale, over $1 billion. These aren't just fines. These are the kind of penalties that can fundamentally damage a company.
And this brings us right back to where we started. That rich, structured data in the ISO 2202 messages, it's not just about being efficient. It is absolutely essential for navigating this compliance minefield. It lets companies screen payments automatically before they're ever sent to make sure they aren't accidentally breaking any complex sanctions rules.
So when you put it all together, the ability to handle a geopolitical shock, to move money seamlessly, to manage a decade of legal risk, it all depends on this incredible, invisible digital network. It's what makes global finance so resilient. But it also leads to one last big question. As this amazing system gets more complex and more connected, does it also become more fragile, more vulnerable to that next big, unexpected shock we haven't even thought of yet?